I like to begin each drawing with what I call the mind of a beginner. And what that means is that I try to forget everything I know about the subject that I'm drawing. The effect that has is that I get to see things freshly. You see, my mind is always going to try to tell me lies. My mind is going to say, hey, I know what this is. That's an eye. I've drawn those before, and it's going to revert to drawing them in the same way that I've always drawn them before. My process begins with drawing very lightly. You start with an HB, which is like a number 2 pencil. At this point, I'm working with much heavier pencils, probably a 4B or a 6B, because I've finished my lighter drawing and I'm ready to commit to a little bit darker. Once we start getting in there with darker pencils, it comes together, but it's also much tougher to get rid of it. One thing you may have noticed that I haven't used is an eraser. I like to eschew erasers until the very end of a drawing. The problem with erasers is that we often try to use them to correct our mistakes, but mistakes aren't a bad thing. If you look through this, at the edges of my iris, there were probably 6 lines in there. Each one of them was probably a mistake, but they become part of the roadmap of the drawing. I'm getting in there with even darker marks right now. This one is, I'm not sure how I feel about the pencil I'm going to use in a moment. You see, many of these have the characteristics of graphite. It's sort of gray. The eyelashes and this particular pencil right here, it looks a little bit more like charcoal. And not that one, this one, there. I don't know if I like that. I'm kind of a purist. Now here I'm getting in with an eraser. And you might notice that instead of fixing things, I was using it to add highlights, to sort of harden some edges and give a little bit of detail. I tried to hurry through some of the process here at the end, and so I began making a lot of mistakes. I was getting rather tired, though I only have about 40 minutes into this drawing at this point. I was working on it throughout the day. Many of those erasers right there are just mistakes. So I took it home, which explains the different lighting here. And I have different pencils. I love these pencils, though. That's a nice 8B, very soft, nice dark marks, but graphite quality. I'm just attempting to do a little bit of layering here and trying to bring this thing back, and I'm observing it all in a new light once again. And now I knew that I had better erasers at home. Also, picking out some anatomy. And here they come. So this is an electric eraser. It seems excessive to have something like that, but what it does, you can really erase very tight details. And so I'm sort of working with some values, some lighter values, highlights in the iris, and you'll see that I'm just dancing around trying to get some skin texture here. You'll see some other ones in a moment, lots of details, and I don't mind creating some marks by using an eraser, and then if I don't like them, I can just use a blending stump to go over them, or I can shade over them with a pencil. I never think of a drawing as something that has to be left alone. I'll make marks, I'll lift highlights, I can always add more darks or lift more lights, but I really don't use the eraser to correct anything. Now right at the end here, I am going to do that, where I'm just going to get in and start squaring up the edge of the page. And this is just going to give it a nice clean look. Overall, I'm happy with this piece. It's not what I thought it could be, but I'm getting closer to understanding what I'm capable of. And here I'm just sort of cleaning up the edges of this drawing. I think that it really, if your drawing is going to be unmatted, That just really gives it a neat appearance to have that at the edge. I want you all to be confident, believe in yourself, get out there, and make your marks.